We just have been reading the reports that 700 Sikhs from Afghanistan will have their citizenship request to India fast tracked and they will be brought to India before August 15. Just earlier this year, on March 25, a bomb blast in one of the Gurudwara Sahibs in Kabul, it killed 25 people. These 25 people included small children, included women and Sikh men. After the bomb blast, more than 600 Sikhs applied at the Indian embassy in Kabul for Indian citizenship. The entire process, of course, got delayed because of the coronavirus outbreak, if the Ministry of Home Affairs statement is anything to go by. But now their citizenship is being fast tracked and they will be brought to India before August 15th, which is the Independence Day. But that is not the issue. The issue is not just about the 700 Sikhs or the people who are coming to India. The issue is of the debate that was lost due to two events, two significant events. One, the Delhi riots, which happened in the end of February, coinciding with the visit of President Donald Trump. Second, the coronavirus outbreak, which derailed the entire discussion around Citizenship Amendment Act because everyone was suddenly so occupied with coronavirus outbreak and the economy, so everyone's just forgotten the importance of CAA. But what is happening today? The coming of 700 Sikhs from Afghanistan. This is an important time to reflect upon the CAA and why the naysayers, the critics, the people who took to bashing CAA were completely wrong. I have four factors to cover. One of them, the constant persecution which minorities face in these three nations. Second, their declining population. Third, their cultural erosion. And fourth, why India is their rightful homeland. These four aspects I'm going to take one by one is what makes CA very, very relevant. The first thing is of constant persecution. What we saw with Sikhs in Afghanistan, that's just one example. Hindus have been fleeing Bangladesh for almost its entire existence, since the last almost 50 years since it was formed. Every year we see the numbers jumping because the country does not allow Hindus to coexist with Muslims with the same kind of rights. The discrimination is rampant. You can say the same for Afghanistan, where the socio-political setup has changed since early 2000s because of the terrorism. You can say the same about Pakistan as well. Now, when Pakistan was formed in 1947, the East and West Pakistan, the idea was that Hindus and Muslims, wherever they want to live, they will be allowed to live with complete dignity. Of course, that was the idea. What happened is another reality, but that was the idea. What happened in Bangladesh in 1971, before it became Bangladesh, that's one reality of persecution. What is going on in Pakistan today? For instance, Pakistan, a country that loves its cricket. Dinesh Kanere, one of the most famous spinners to have played for Pakistan on the international level, he came forward and voiced his concern that he was also subject to some sort of religious discrimination because of his religion. He was forced to consume food which he probably thought he would want to. He had to face that discrimination within the team, which is of just of 11 people. Now imagine if someone in the Pakistani cricket team faces that discrimination. What is the condition for people who are just average citizens of the nation? How do they cope up? After the 25th March bomb blast in Kabul, the Sikhs were so worried for their safety, so uncertain about their safety, that they got together and gathered in the Gurudwara Sahib premises to live there. Now, can normal life for minorities be always like that? Not just for Hindus or Sikhs, even for Buddhists, for Christians, for Jains, for Parsis. Can life go on like this? The constant persecution makes it difficult, which brings me to the second aspect, the declining population. We've seen how much of a population decline has happened in Pakistan and Bangladesh. People who have not been killed or kidnapped and forcefully converted, they have left the country or have come to India as refugees before 2014, which made CAA very relevant. The same story has played out in Afghanistan too, due to the emergence of Islamic terrorism after the early 2000s, especially since the early 2000s. The declining population has made it very difficult for the people who are already there to even further sustain their lives. Now, the 700 Afghan Sikhs who are coming to India, they already have relatives in India. So, this exodus was already there. The declining population is a direct reflection of the persecution that they face. Which brings me to a third factor also, that of cultural erosion. Now, just last week, there was this news about a life-size Buddha statue being found in Pakistan. In any sane country, a statue like that would be taken care of by relevant agency, archaeological agencies, or agencies dealing with history and things like that. In any sane country, that is. What happens in Pakistan? They take an axe, they chop the statue to pieces because they were threatened by a centuries old life size statue. That's the one example of cultural erosion I can give you. Just a few weeks back, there was these reports of a temple not being allowed to be built in Pakistan. But that wasn't just it. It wasn't just about the temple, the bricks that were taken away, the premises that was broken. Average citizens on TikTok, I remember watching a video of a father who had his two sons, barely 5 or 6 year old, barely able to speak. They were threatening Imran Khan that if a temple comes into existence in Pakistan, then he'll have to face the anger of the citizens. That is the kind of cultural erosion that happens there. But the temples in Pakistan since 1947, if we talk just about Western Pakistan for beginners, since 1947, one after the other, temples have just disappeared or are lying in condition which is almost a sorry state. Then there is also the question of Afghanistan. If you go back to 2000s, just remember how the statues of Buddha, many statues of Buddha that were built in Afghanistan, they were blown apart. Perhaps they thought that the statues of Buddha are not fit enough to exist with their contemporary reality. So imagine if this level of cultural erosion is there in these three nations, what do the citizens face? And these are the three aspects we need to focus: the persecution, the declining population, and the cultural erosion. Which brings me to the final point, that why India is the homeland for all these persecuted minorities. Well, one simple answer is that India is the original homeland for Hindus, for Sikhs, for Jainism, for Buddhism, because this is where it began for them. This is where the history began. For Christians and Parsis too, this is their rightful homeland because we are a diverse nature. Even if critics might want to point out that some minorities do not have as fair a share as other majorities have, we are a very versatile nation in terms of the religions we follow, the cultures we follow. And that is why India is the rightful homeland. But another factor is that these are our neighboring nations, and these people, the persecuted minorities, they have nowhere to go. Where do you expect 600 or 700 Afghan Sikhs to go from if they cannot live in Afghanistan? Can they go to Pakistan? Can they go to any other country of Central Asia or Iran? Can they go there? No, they cannot. This is what makes India their home. And that is why India must accept them. And it is rightfully so through the Citizenship Amendment Act, where people who came before 2014, they'll obviously be given citizenship, and the ones who are coming after will be dealt as it is under the law. But some people want you to believe that this is a divisive action against Muslims, that Muslims will not be allowed to become citizens of India by acquiring the citizenship of India. That's not true, of course. Muslims from anywhere in the world or people from anywhere in the world can still apply to be Indian citizens, and there is a law in place for that as it was earlier. The fear mongering that has happened around the CAA, the kind of things that we were told that this will create a Hindu Rashtra, that this is to displace minorities in India. Today, India is using the CAA to help a minority group, to help Sikhs who face danger of life in Afghanistan. And it's perhaps time for the naysayers, for the critics, for the ones who took to Twitter and all other online portals, primetime debates, to bash CAA mindlessly, to further the propaganda that was shown at Shaheen Bagh, to realize how wrong they were. This is a time for them to reflect and to share the pain of 700 Sikhs in Afghanistan who will soon be coming to India just before Independence Day. Thank you.